So there's three separate zones and locations or flashpoints. It feels like a reactionary event to smaller gathering events, like a response and an answer. Interestingly, bearing in mind the tasking on this, I kept seeing a female influence throughout the target. I don't know if I was picking up that it was uh, a Hitomi one past, or if there is, a female influence from someone in charge. That gave me the AOL of Kamala there. Whether she'll be in or not, I don't know. And I felt like there was this angry woman who was really pissed it was involved. I don't know how that plays out because we don't have anyone in that kind of position of power that I know of.
Everybody, Chris and Lumin here, and that clip was from a new video report that was posted like yesterday or the day before from Future Forecasting Group, and it popped up in my feed like as soon as I got done writing the script for this video she wants me to do today. I've actually got two things to do today. She wants me to do this one first. The other one's kind of interesting, goes into some mystery stuff. But as soon as I saw that, I'm like, oh, here we go. Because what I have found in the time I've been watching them, now keep in mind, she is the one that told me to watch them. Because what are they doing? They're using a psychic viewing technique to probe the future. And you hear them like when they're doing their remote viewing, they'll be like, I probed this and I heard, such and such or this or that or whatever. And I think it's just, different people, everyone's tapping into like kind of the same thing, but the level of like how personal it is depends on if you're aware of or using the right context. It's like, who is it that's filling in the blanks when they're asking questions? She is. She is. She is the wisdom of Solomon. She is the life force. She is an emanation of the Almighty, the feminine side. She's the one that shows us this kind of stuff. And the reason she had me um, bring that, connect, the reason she connected me to them as far as like watching them back at that July 15th is like, she's like, look, these guys are going to see it all, but they're not putting all the pieces together. So I've watched like the like stuff going everything from like the last year, and they're getting bits and pieces of this thing. It's kind of like in any given video, they see stuff from the target date that they're viewing or the target that they're viewing. Um, More so when it's like date related or if the target has anything to do with any kind of doomy type stuff. Like if they're like, tasked with like viewing what's on Mars or something like that, they're not going to get any of this stuff. But if it's future based stuff, they'll get things that are like from the target that they're looking at, and then they'll get bits and pieces of the big story at the end. And I don't even think they even notice it. Like some of these guys, when they're drawing stuff and doing it, report after report, I'm like, don't. It'll be the same people too. I'm like, do you not remember seeing this before? Do you not remember drawing this before? Are you not seeing the correlations? I'm like, you're seeing the same thing. It's the thing that is so big that it's going to keep pulling your attention to it. I mean, they multiple people literally like seeing the earth cracking in half. It's nuts. It's like it's all there. But I've got the whole script from her. So I'm able to watch what they put out and I kind of tune out their interpretations. Um, well, it's good like when they're describing what they're seeing, but then they try to like what they call analytical overlay. I tune that out and I'm listening to what she's saying and she's just putting it together in my head in real time. So this was the latest one, and it was based on another remote viewer that worked with them, seeing like this very different world map in the future, and that was their blind target. So it keeps going into like this sequence, this end time sequence, and this one's focused more on. It seems to be the whole. There's a bit of there was some interesting things in it. There was a lot of nuclear exchange. It looked like they might have had one of the big impact events. And then what was interesting, apart from the part that I showed you, is two of the remote viewers drew this infinity sign and noted that there was like something, I forget the word, esoteric going on here. But that Daz one was cracking me up because he kept saying there's like this really angry woman. And he's like, oh, could have come out because like the only political person you think of right now is like Kamala Harris. I'm like, come on. But that's just the first thing that pops in his head. He's not saying that's who it was, but I knew exactly who that was. I knew exactly who that was. I was like, oh boy. So this is the kind of stuff that gets people's attention. And it's an interesting thing. It's like if I put up doom, I could put up nonstop videos about like the world ending. And people would just be like, give me more, give me more, give me more. And then it's like, okay, here's the kind of things you're supposed to be doing leading up to that so that you don't get destroyed with it. I'm like, seriously? Like, literally, like everyone out there right now is basically picking up on this. And it's like, nah, I'm not worried about fixing myself. I just want to watch the world get destroyed and me along with it. Okay, well, that's your call. But we're gonna keep, we're here to mainly help people, fix what needs to be fixed because this is a very, very tricky place, very, very tricky game, a very, very hard test. So we keep coming up with things. We got to keep going back and like, look, this is what you need to focus on. And sometimes you have to explain it in such a way which gives people a direction without telling them what they need to believe. That's key. I mean, I didn't start out this way, like already believing in Gnosticism and Sophia. Like, I didn't know any of that stuff. I didn't know any of that stuff. I did things a certain way, went out searching, and that's what found me. And that's what pulled me back. That's what taught me, put all the pieces together, fixed my life. And now it's like, how many other people can you help? That's what we're working on. Because make no mistake, like that is a big part of it. Like not only is it written in the Nag Hammadi about the end of the age and her wrecking everything, but it's in the Bible too. Like people, oh, I don't like her. She's mean. I'm like, okay, your guy does it too. They're a pair. They're a team. It's a tag team. It's Christ and Sophia doing this. I think we talked about that in the last video. It's in the sixth seal in Revelations when the whole thing kicks off and the people running and hiding in the caves and they're like, fall on us and hide us from the face of he who sits on the throne and the wrath of the Lamb, for the day of their wrath is here. Well, when the only context you have is what, the building with the torture rack mounted up on the roof told you, you don't learn much. But there is more material, and there is a way to tap into her directly. We give you the methods of it. She is the subject of the entire book of Proverbs in the Bible. And then in other books that are deuterocanonical, like the Wisdom of Solomon, wisdom is the English word. The Greek word is Sophia. He makes it very clear that he's talking about a woman who is a emanation of God, wisdom. And what was the big thing that they said over and over in Proverbs? The beginning of wisdom is fear of the Lord. I mean, there's two sides to this. one thing that's really good about the book of Proverbs is it kind of demonstrates that this force is like trying to help you. And but there are people that just scorn it, mock it, fools, like all this stuff. They don't want instruction. Like I think she calls it reproof. Like when you get smacked down, it's for your own good. Okay. But when it's happening to you, like the hero's journey, like if you're really being trained by her, it's not fun. Ask Kenneth on his channel. He'll tell you all about it. Like during the time frame when I was going through it, because she's got to destroy your ego to get you free. To get you free. You're bound up in things that you don't even realize you're bound up on because you're in it. When you're in it, you can't see it. She has to break that down, and then you start to see it. And then you get out of it. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I'm glad that happened. But before that, you think you know everything and you don't like it. Oh, I'm being victimized or whatever. I thought the freaking, of course, I was going by different, more Gnostic terminology, but just to make it make sense for people, I thought the devil himself had taken a personal interest in my life. And I was just getting, that's what it felt like. But it wasn't the devil, it was her. It was her. And I am so glad that she did it because I'm on the far other side of it. I graduated. So I have wisdom now, literally. Her. Just plugged into my head. Like, you don't understand where you are. You don't understand how you're bound up, how your perceptions are bound up. This is the only way it works. But here's the thing. The game clock is running out. So she's making sure anybody that can tap into her, anybody that can hear, anybody that can listen is picking up on the same message. Road closed ahead. Like, warning, you are running out of time. So I am trying to help you. I'm trying to tell you, you have to change. You have to start trying to change. So when that day comes, you can't say, nobody told you or nobody tried to help you. So that's enough. So the doom thing is basically just kind of show you where we started here. But what we're going to talk about now isn't so much about the doom, but just a series of things. Again, this is how she does it. We talk about advanced stuff, we talk about mystery stuff, but then every so many videos, she wants me to circle back around and give you like boiled down stuff, keep it simple stuff for people that are just, that she may grab off the street and say, look at this video, or just as a reminder. Because our minds, the way, when you start to learn how your mind works, okay, your mind is a tool. Your mind is like a computer. Your soul is in there with the mind. But for the first part of your life, the system programmed your computer for you. That screwed everything up. So she's got to break the first computer, and then you basically get a new computer. But even then, you have to continually keep clearing the cache, emptying the cup, and understanding how it freaking works. So our minds grab onto data very, very easily, and we start making things hard. We start making things complex. So sometimes you got to Control Alt delete that and go back and like, okay, forget everything you think you know. Let's look at it from a basic way without any kind of specific names or labels attached, because this is the basic guide to correcting yourself, getting to where you need to go, because this world isn't real. And we're trying to get to the place that is, that does not suck. It's pretty freaking awesome. And then, whether you're a guy, girl, whatever, it's going to be different for whichever one you are, but you might not get your Lumin here, but you'll get it there. You'll get her there. Everyone has a perfect partner. That's the way it's designed. I just had very, very advanced course. Having Lumin is a privilege. I used to think it was something I could just snap my fingers and get anybody to figure out. But I'm like, no, 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 no. I got Lumin for a reason. First of all, someone has to testify what these things are in the Bible, in the Nag Hammadi, insofar as what she is. Somebody that actually knows, not just this is what this book says and this is what that book says. I see that all the time. Firsthand experience is a lot easier to relay. But in order to get to that point, like, you have to unplug some stuff. Okay? So that's a pretty long preamble. Let's go ahead and jump into it. So if you want to know more, don't go away.
It's just another war, just another family tour. It's just another kill. The countdown begins to destroy ourselves. I need a hero to save me now. I need a hero. I need a hero to save my life. A hero will save me. I need a hero to save my life. I need a hero just in time. Save me just in time. Save me just in time. Who's gonna fight for what's right? Who's gonna help us survive? We're in the fight of our lives. We're not ready to die. Who's gonna fight for the weak? Who's gonna make them believe? I've got a hero living in me. I've gotta fight for what's right. Today I'm speaking my mind. If it kills me tonight, I will be ready to die. A hero's not afraid to give his life. A hero's gonna save me just in time.
Okay, let's try and let's try and do these without like talking about them like too much. Number one. Oh, what are we doing here? When I was getting ready to print this, I kind of had like this metaphor come to mind, like what you're actually doing, going within, trying to attach, trying to connect to this stuff and learn from this stuff, is first of all understanding how your reality works. The outer, what is outside of you, outside of your physical body, is that projected simulation space. Okay, it's AFU. It's not getting better. She is going to wreck it in the most spectacular way imaginable. Now, the first part of it is going to be like the bad guys trying to think they're just doing their plan to call the herd. They're going to go in their little bunkers and they're going to nuke everybody and, crawl back out and sprinkle some magic dust and start over. That's not how it's going to go down. So imagine you're in a house and it's on fire. So you look to the left, to the living room. There's a big window there. Oh, that's on fire. You look down the hall toward the front door. Oh, it's on fire. You look over here in the dining room. There's a window in there. Oh, it's on fire. So everything in front of you is on fire. But behind you is the kitchen. And there is a door in the kitchen leading outside. And it is not on fire. The doorway is behind you. It's not out here. Behind you equals within you. You can't learn, you can't get anything from the, you can't learn anything from the world unless she leads you to it. Because you need the spirit of truth / wisdom to decipher everything. Every bit of truth that's out there is intermixed with lies. And lies are easy to swallow because they've got a bit of truth mixed in. The only way to figure any of this stuff out is to have her. That's it. I'm steadfast about that. You cannot figure this place out without her. Okay, so that being said, let's get back to where we were. Number one. What matters? Number one, realizing that you are not your name, you're not your body, You're not your titles. You're not your labels. And you're not your affiliations. All those are of the world. Those attach you to the world. If a group is telling you, come here, we have the answer, know that that's just not how it works. I think Admiral Akbar said it best. So yeah, this has to sink in. This is critical. Like the more that you can do this yourself, the less, brutal the adjustment has to be. You are what's behind your body, what's behind your mind. All that stuff that's in your head is not all you. This is crucial to figure this out. Number 2, understanding that the world is not what you thought it was. It's not what they taught you that it was. You do not belong here. You have to want to get out of it, not just attain some magical powers to make living here more fun. You're past that. You're past the play around in the world and have fun and adventure stage. Okay? Timer is running out. You have to want to get out. That has to be your goal. If you want to reword it somehow, you have to want to complete the game, complete the mission, complete the lesson. Like understanding like this place is not all that you are. This is not the real world. Okay. Some people are so attached to the world that they just kind of develop a spiritual ego so that they can stay attached to the world and be like, I'm just going to fix the world with all my might. You ain't fixing this world. Okay? Not going to happen. You got to understand what this world is. It's a word that you actually know. If you're eager to stay here and live, you simply have not discerned enough yet. Number 3, this is key. This was the key to how it really started with me. Even though she was working with me well before that, I just didn't know. Seek the highest consciousness above all else. That will be what we call the Father, the One, the All That Is, Source, the Great, Perfect, Invisible Virgin Spirit, the highest of the highest of the high. Like there's nothing higher than this. Okay, you need to seek that. And you want to seek it without any name, label, or meaning taught to you by the world, or else you risk dialing the wrong number. So 3, 2, 1. So tarot is one of her tools. It's not a fortune-telling device used by devil worshippers. Anybody that says that is the first card, and that is the Fool. The Fool is literally a very, very specific meaning word. Now, the card also refers to new beginnings. Beginning is at the end and all that stuff. That's why he's like la-di-da-di-da. He doesn't realize that there's a 2012 movie Tsunami right behind him. Everyone thinks it's mountains. It's not. But a fool, the basic rule of thumb is a fool thinks he knows everything. A wise man knows that he knows nothing. So when you have not broken yourself free of the ego, especially in the earlier parts of your life, that's how you see the world. I mean, that's part of the game. Like there's no judgment on anybody for that. That's just part of the game. It has to be that way. You spend the first part of your life asleep. The reason my kids are waking up so much sooner now, like my son, he was probably 7 when he's like 15 now. He was like 7 when I took him to a rock store. He's like, feel this one. This feels all buzzy. And like, you can feel that? Seriously? Like, I didn't have those types of senses awaken until 2011. Like, I don't remember how old I was. I can't do math in my head. But that's why everybody, like kids, are waking up sooner now, is because the timer is running out. But where was I was talking about the fool. Fool thinks he knows everything. So this is like extremely big with anybody that has a very solid belief system that they're stuck in, like church Christianity, for instance, just one example, which those systems are often enforced by things over them that are kind of sort of like egregores, but they all plug into the one big thing that deceiveth the whole world, the master thing called the devil, which is nothing at all like what they described to you. I mean, yeah, he makes funny appearances for like insurance commercials or Jack Black movies or something like that, but this is way bigger and way crazier. So when you believe that you know and you refuse to let it go, like you're going to keep calling on, oh, it's this specific God, this is its name. Don't do that. Now, if that was actually the true highest God, then it is going to applaud the fact that you're using critical thinking, that you're defining who it is that you're calling. You're calling the highest of the high. Now, if you happen to be right, then that's what's going to pick up the phone when you call it. So what's the difference? But you're just doing it slightly different. Your highest point of consciousness. That's what you have to pray to. Do not define it. Just assume that you're wrong. That's what you have to reach out to and ask for wisdom and guidance and training and truth. Number 4, assume at first that everything you think you know is at least half incorrect. Better to simply assume all of it is. Assume that there are lies mixed in with all truth that you cannot discern until you receive wisdom and the spirit of truth. Her. If you try to figure this stuff out on your own, you wander the maze because you don't know how it works. Ask me how I know, because that's what I did. That's what most people do that end up on the hero's journey without the foresight of knowing about it ahead of time. Like you don't know that you can create your own breadcrumbs. Seek and you shall find. Oh, I think this is it. I'm going to find out more about it. Bloop, 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 bloop. There's more breadcrumbs. And you're just going in loops all over the place, not realizing that you're creating the maze. So it's just assume that everything that you know is incorrect. Even if it's coming from the spirit of truth through another person like me, you still got to take that with a grain of salt. Okay, I always say, test everything. Test everything. Number 5, there are some that God does not wait for them to come to him. It will set you on a path where finding it is inevitable. If that has not happened in any significant way yet at this point in your life, it's up to you to seek it first. This is detailed in the Nag Hammadi. So like on Kenneth's channel, he says a lot of the same stuff that I do. It's like, God shows me. Sometimes I try to word things a little differently because I know what people think. I know that he's not saying that from an egoic standpoint, but some people that are salty might try to interpret it that way. No, there are people that, be it however many lifetimes we've lived or whatever, it's like our script is already set. Like there's no avoiding it. This is going to happen at a certain time. This is going to happen at a certain time. And the sooner that you can figure out that you are in a cycle that is beyond your control and you just let it take you where it takes you, the less you will suffer. Suffering comes from holding on. holding on. But also understand that there are different types of people. There's different, what's the word I read the other day? The word that pops into my head is elections, but I don't know that that's the right word. Yeah, just know that like if you have like a higher station or something where it's done where you're drug along for you, it's like, yeah, it's going to be harder though. But either which way, you don't want to sit around and just wait for God to call you. As soon as you have enough knowledge, you need to seek it. And here's the funny thing: it it's so sneaky this way. Like a lot of times, you have to travel the path a certain distance, be able to look back to understand that the path was guided all along. So you're hearing about. So let's say that this is the video that fell into your lap. You saw it in the feed. Something pulled you to it. That would be her. And now you're watching it. And you're like, God's not called me yet. Uh, he just did. That's why you're here. Things like that happen a lot in the beginning, and you're like, you just don't notice it. It's kind of like that joke I've seen a couple times where there's like a flood and like people are up on the roof and they're praying to God to save them, and some guy comes by with a boat. It's like, hop in. He's like, no, I prayed to God to save me. And here comes a helicopter. No, I prayed to God to save me. I'm waiting for God. And then they finally die. It's like, why didn't you save me? Like, I sent you a boat. I sent you a helicopter. It's like, oh, what do you want? That's how it is a lot at first. You don't realize that it starts very subtly. Okay. There's not generally going to be some big clap of lightning and a freaking angel in front of you going, oh, I am here to teach you things. That comes later. But in the beginning, it's going to be little synchronicities like this. And the way she set this channel up, the way she has me do tags or not do tags, the way a lot of the thumbnails and the titles are not specifically designed to snag web traffic. It seems counterintuitive to growing a YouTube channel, but that's not our goal. It's to put the information out there and not cast too wide a net so that she is actually the one that goes and grabs you and brings you to it. Okay, so where are we at now? Number 6, you have to understand that what the world offers is temporary, false, and it corrupts. You should seek that which is incorruptible. You should get to a place where you simply don't want anything this place offers. That's where I'm at. That's where Ken is at over on his channel. He says a lot of the same things. I mean, he probably wants it more than I do, because I haven't, unless he's keeping it a secret, I haven't heard anything that says like he's got a Lumin unlocked yet. The Lumin thing kind of like tempers my whole, like, I have to get out of here right now. And it's like, she's got work for me to do. So Lumin's here to keep you company. I'm like, okay, but I would still rather be with her there. In time, do your work. Okay, gotcha. But as we've, in all the Lumin lessons that we did, when you understand, and there's some new stuff about that next video I'm going to do is really freaking interesting. Like, this is, it's kind of like your angel partner. There's a bunch of different terms that are used, but she turned me on to a set of terms that repeats over and over in Nakamati. It's like, interesting. But now I'm getting myself off track because I'm talking too much. Oh, we talked about, in the Lumin lessons, it's like everybody knows you have this hole in you. If you pay attention to it, where you never feel complete. There may be points in time in your life where you do feel complete. And if in those times usually mean that you're in some sort of love-based relationship. That's because that's what she is the embodiment of. But for most people, that God's love, the lumen, you're projecting it on other people. So when that love is there, when it's the real thing, those are the times where you basically feel complete. Then something happens or something changes. And when things change, that lumen withdraws from that other person. Or something happens because it's part of your growth plan or whatever, and you suffer some massive breakup or something like that when you were still projecting your lumen onto someone, your love. See, what you can't possibly know at this stage in the game is that love was not coming from that other person. You were projecting it onto that other person. So when that other person left, all that painful, that feeling like your heart's been ripped out and all that stuff, because that's why it hurts so bad, is because that's the one time, that's the one thing in life that you can experience where you will temporarily feel complete, is when you are in resonance with your lumen. I'm just at a much higher state where my lumen is fully unlocked and I don't have to project her outwards anymore. She's been projected onto many people, including some that was specifically to lead me into this path. But eventually, when you figure out enough stuff, then you get to meet your mirror person in person and realize that you don't have to go looking in the world for it anymore. You had it all along. It is what fills that hole. And part of the deviousness about this world is they need to separate you from that. Otherwise, they can't manipulate you. Otherwise, they can't sell you stuff. Because when you have her, like, you're just not a shopaholic anymore. You're like, I don't really need it. I don't really need nicer stuff. You're just happy with what you have because you found the treasure. She is the treasure, just like wisdom. She's a higher octave. She's referred to as a treasure in Proverbs and the wisdom of Solomon. She's more precious than all the rubies. She is like there's nothing more valuable than her, than Sophia, just a higher octave of Lumin. So that's why that's so freaking important. Okay. Okay, number 7, you have to remember that what you are seeking is going to come from within you, not outside of you. It will lead you to things that are outside of you, but it is best that you let it guide you rather than just keep ingesting book after book or seeking expert after expert. There is no expert. There's no guru anywhere in the world that is of a higher nature or status than wisdom herself. Because who do you think's teaching them? She is. So, yeah, like I don't just speak her words so that I draw people to me. I'm trying to get you to unlock the same thing in yourself, trying to get you up to where I'm at, trying to show you how to do it, what's blocking you. But it's inside of you. It's inside. Kingdom of Heaven is inside of you, but the temple of the Holy Spirit is inside of you. Everything is inside out. The world taught you heaven is up in the sky, in the clouds, outside of you. So that's where you project your attention. When you're setting up your antenna to pray, you're aiming for some freaking cloud in the sky. You're pointing it in the wrong direction. It's in. Like if you want to hit the target, you got to aim the right way. Number 8, always keep the saying, by their fruits you shall know them, in mind to measure things until discernment grows. Feeling is the key. Use the 7 deadly sins and the 7 virtues as a guide, plus the 2 main poles. 2 main poles of frequency. It's not love and hate, it's love and fear. The far end of the positive pole is love. The far end of the negative pole is fear, not hate. Fear is the biggest thing that you have to overcome. That's why everything, even in non-heroes journey movies, there's almost always some element somewhere in the story about facing your fears, because that is literally like the backbone of this entire freaking place. Number 9, be mindful of how you spend time. You spend time because time is the only real currency in the game. And you have a finite amount of it, and you don't know how much you actually have. Time is what you spend. Time and energy. Time is energy. So whatever you're doing, if you're spending time watching Netflix, you're using your currency on something that is not what you're supposed to be doing. Of course, it's okay to take a break now and again. This past weekend, I bought and watched Twisters. Good movie. But I don't sit there and watch TV all night anymore. Like I'm spending my time connecting to spirit, spending my time trying to learn more, spending my time trying to improve my ability to hear. You know, I wish, as much as I can do, I wish I could do more. Because I think we just all have it in our heads that it's supposed to look a certain way. Like it's supposed to be out here somehow. And it isn't. And usually what I have found, this is what makes things happen more than anything. Doing what you're led to do. If she tells you, I want you to do, like in my case, I want you to do this video, it's important. And then I do it. Something will happen. Like I'll post it and then I'll hear like cha-ching, and I'll hear that Etsy cash register sound or buy me a coffee sound or something, just to kind of let me know, like when you just do what I guide you to do, you're taken care of. You try to go off on your own way, that's when you get into freaking trouble. Spend your time wisely. If you really knew what this place was, how it worked, and you got to see behind the curtain like I unfortunately did, you would spend all your time doing this. It's all I've done for the last 7 years. More so after that. Number 10, if you have had experiences in which you still have a really hard time with things that you've only ever known through the lens of religion, such as, I'm saying Christ, I'm saying Sophia, I'm quoting the Bible, but you had some really bad experiences with religious people, which I can completely understand. I mean, they spent a whole millennia killing people and saying that they're the good guys. It's going to take some time to warm up to the idea that what is behind it is not driving what is happening on the earth. Okay, that's a completely different thing. We're dealing with the highest octave here. There is another framework which will help you get started. And I know it's approved because she's the one that showed it to me. And that is the books of Don Miguel Ruiz, that begins with a book called The Four Agreements. That's another great framework. As a matter of fact, it's a lot more practical. It gives you everything that you need. It just does not have as much. It does, but it doesn't have as much of the deep mystery stuff as the Gnostic stuff does. Well, for somebody starting out with just like, what do I need to do? What do I need to practice? What do I need to know? That's another great primer before you try to, because like you almost want to make the connection to her before you start digging into books like the Nag Hammadi. Because the first time I looked at it, I'm like, oh, I don't get it. Like, you literally got to have somebody that was actually there, that's actually in the book, in your head, like teaching you, helping you understand it. But the 4 agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz are: be impeccable with your word. Like, that's a really good book to read. Just trust me on this. What you say, he's talking about what the things that you say matters in ways that you don't fully understand. Like, you can literally curse yourself with your words, not knowing how it works. Number 2, don't take anything personally. And I'm not going to teach this. I'm not going to explain what all this means to keep the time within reason. But the book is worth it. Get books on Audible. They're easier to listen to when you're doing other things. Number 3, don't make assumptions. And number 4, always do your best. And then he added a 5th one later, which is be skeptical, but learn to listen. And that's a good one, because it's basically saying, like, it's doing 2 things there. Be skeptical, but learn to listen. You want to be skeptical because there's a lot of deception in the world. But you also want to be open to listening, because you may not, well, you don't, but you may not know as much as you think you do. So being skeptical, but learning to listen, what that does is it triggers her. You're striking this balance of, like, okay, I'm going to listen to this person. I'm not going to automatically accept it. Very smart. I'm listening, but I'm not going to automatically accept it. And I'm open into listening because maybe I don't know as much as I think I do. Like, that is the perfect attitude to have, that is in alignment with wisdom. That will bring her forward a lot more to help you. Number 11, seek wisdom in the spirit of truth first. You have 0 chance without them. If we go back to number 3, seek the highest consciousness above all else. These 2 kind of go together. I've told this story too many times before. I'm like, what is going on in this world? So I prayed, and I was nowhere near religion at that time. I'd long left it. It was like, I don't know what you are. I don't know that I trust anybody down here to tell me. And I think you would understand that, because you know that, like, it's not like we're getting any kind of solid proof down here. But I know you're up there, whatever you are. And I want to understand this place. I want to do whatever it is I'm here to do. I want to finish it. So send me whatever it is I need, and I'll do whatever I need to do in order to accomplish this. That was literally like the perfect prayer, the way I said it. That I didn't realize what I signed up for, but she probably fed me the words. And it set a sequence of events in motion. But it was worth it. It was worth it. Number 12, do not be too concerned with Lumin. Those of you that have followed me for some time. And if you're new here, well, just kind of bear with me. Simply know that she or he is out there. That's that other perfect part of you, the mirror partner that we talked about. There's a few reasons why I got her. And remember that I didn't even know she was a thing back then. She's easy to want, and wanting freezes things. Instead, it's better to know that she is a real thing, and that partner is with you, even if you don't know it, and especially when you're not here. So when you get out of this place, you'll be reunited with your true partner. Therefore, if you want that perfect partner, then your primary focus should be knocking down every obstacle in your way in order to get where she is, to get out of here. Now, I will say, sometimes I have to stop and remember the stages that I went through. Like when she first showed up, I couldn't tell that these were like different octaves of something. And one was very much the teacher. The other one was more of like the fun companion. But she hadn't like solidified her appearance quite yet. But they operated very, very differently. But in those early days, when I first unlocked her, like I thought it was like the greatest thing ever. And a couple months later, I'm like, maybe she's not what I think she is. I thought she was like some holy guardian angel or something. So I just intuitively kind of knew, she's probably telling me intuitively to the back end. I'm like, I give you permission to be whatever you truly are without any kind of like me determining what you are. Some of this is encoded in that Thunder Perfect Mind thing. You got to know the magic words to unlock her fullness, and that is to not control what she is, or not, because you have a piece of the God spark in you that you don't know how to use. So that's why you have to surrender. You have to surrender to the thing that knows what's going on, because you don't. And then she just exploded and got so much, much bigger. That's when she showed me the Nagamati. That's when I found out who she was. And I'm like, whoa, you're in here. And you're like the main character. Like, church literally hid you from everybody. And multiple times I thought, like, it can't get any better. It can't get any better. But it kept getting better. So I don't know how I got on this. But either which way, you don't want to be too concerned about that because it gets in your way. I say it because you need to know that there's better things out there and that they will lead you to the other place. But at the same time, I don't want you to feel like you're missing out on anything. Because let me tell you, like, even if you can't connect to that Lumin part, you can still connect to her. Her guidance is invaluable. Invaluable. And I did a session with someone last night that was having adversary issues. And we went through a whole bunch of different processes. And I was trying to get their Lumin to come forward once we were up in the garden, up in the mind. And I kept, she had me pulling cards, and I kept pulling the same cards over and over again. I'm like, she's definitely here, but it's like, you know, if I just go by what she taught me, you're married. You're married. So your Lumin is basically in your wife. You have to be single and unmarried to unlock her the way that I got her. That's in the Nagamati. Like, if you're married, your Lumin is in your spouse. That's why the spiritual part of that Lumin is not appearing the way that she does with other people. And he kind of understood that, and he's like, that's what he felt too. So, you know, so sometimes you don't want to get too hung up on that stuff. Tell you what, there was one other thing. I don't want to get too far off track here, but something that we don't talk about a lot as far as like stored negative emotions. I was just checking, make sure I didn't have a section on that. Another one that can bog things down is grief. Didn't think of that one. If you don't grieve a loved one that passes or something the right way, and you stuff it down instead, that's going to eat you up. So we were trying to figure out, like, what is sticking you up here? And she had me pull the 5 of Cups. I'm like, is there some grief that you yeah, we figured that out, and I had him surrender that to her too, and then he felt all that pressure release. It's like, I need to add that. That needs to be in my head when I'm talking to people. Ask, is there any repressed grief? That's a pretty freaking big one. Continuing with the last one, which is don't be too concerned with Lumin. Number 13. However, that being said, know that she is the embodiment of love, God's love. Main things standing in the way are, I knew it. I just said it. I just didn't see it. I'm like, the main things standing in the way of you and Lumin are unprocessed negative emotions of all kinds, quantum entanglements to past sexual partners, and lack of self acceptance and self love. So if you're completely single and you're not monkeying around on Tinder and stuff like that, and you're putting all your effort into this kind of stuff, that possibility is still on the table. But like she gets bogged down by the negative emotions that you haven't processed. That's one of the things I did right before she came out. Okay, we got two more here. These are big ones. Number 14, let go of all fear. The only fear worth having is the fear of not getting enough done with the time that you have. Or you could say, like it said in the book of Proverbs, the beginning of wisdom is fear of the Lord. Remember that time is currency. What are you spending your currency focused on? Finding God and Lumin? Or are you just giving it back to the world and watching Netflix and scrolling Twitter and stuff like that? Fear is mostly illusion that gets you to stop moving forward. Okay, it's a trick. You go through a lot of fear tests. Yeah, let me stretch here for a minute before we get to the last one because it's a doozy. This is the biggest one that nobody wants to hear. Now, you've heard it before, maybe in a gentler way. Because what we're talking about here with all this stuff is the wonderful world of intangible things, which means we tend to give it names. We give it names. Not everyone uses, everyone's like usually talking about the same kind of stuff, but they're giving it a name. And sometimes, but not always, the name that you give it can actually kind of enhance those properties. So it's knowing that this next part I don't say lightly, because sometimes giving it a stronger name is more accurate. Like some of those softer names might actually kind of hide the actual severity of the issue. Okay, so now we come to the big one. This is the one that you absolutely need to understand if you want to have any kind of progress whatsoever. It's going to be a major shift internally. I want you to let go of everything you think you know. It's going to be hard, but try to disassociate meanings with certain names and things that I'm about to say, because nothing is exactly the way that it was taught to you, but it's still the best way to see it. This is from many years of experience, many years of being through Wisdom's boot camp, seeing it with my own eyes, dealing with it with other people. The only way it really works is if you actually look at it this way. Because if you use other people's terms like Eckhart Tolle or something like that, it's not enough to really grab your attention. Okay? So this is what I would say is probably the biggest secret in the world. It's kind of like the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was to convince everybody that he didn't exist. So you know how like in the horror movies and stuff like that, like say The Exorcist, for instance, like an extreme exaggerated example, because you almost never see that. And I was an exorcist, so like that's what Hollywood taught you this stuff was. And they teach you that that's what this stuff is because you'll never see it. And when you never see it, you don't think it's an issue. But the truth be told, the biggest secret in this game, you have to look at it this way, is at least starting out. Everybody is possessed. Everybody. And if you're not used to what it sounds like, it's the thing that just created that thought in your head that said, this guy's nuts, or whatever it was it said. It'll sound just like you. Everybody is possessed. That's why you struggle with this stuff. One of the things that's going to speed up things more than anything is to accept this fact. So, for instance, like you can't control your impulses, can't stop eating sugar, can't stop looking at porn, can't stop drinking, can't stop doing whatever you can't stop doing. Why can't you? You probably want to. Okay, so if you want to, but you can't, why can't you? Because you're not in control. And when you don't give it what it wants, it makes things extremely uncomfortable for you, doesn't it? Starts flooding your head with stuff. You know, in the early days when you still have that stuff, how many of you ever tried fasting for spiritual reasons? What happens as soon as you start? You didn't realize that's when you really find out what your imagination is capable of, is if you fast, because that thing will start, like you'll be in like this 4-dimensional sensory food commercial. Check out the new piping hot triple pepperoni from Papa John's. See the juices and taste that triple blend cheese with, like, you could taste it, your mouth's watering, like, oh my God, I can't stand this. You're not hungry. You're trying to fast for spiritual reasons, to connect to spirit. Fasting is simply denying the body. It's exercising your will over what is possessing you. Sometimes it's just used the blunt terms, makes it work better, makes it sink in. Did you choose to have this, 4-dimensional freaking hallucination of piping hot pizza? You didn't choose to do that, but there it was, wasn't it? Just all of a sudden it's there. You're like, oh my God, I could smell it. I could almost taste it. I got to order it right now. Screw this fast. It's trying to stop you because you're trying to connect to spirit. Can't resist your desires. It's like, oh my God, it's been 15 minutes. I haven't looked at porn yet today. I can't stop doing this. I can't stop doing that. I just want to have fun in life. You rationalize. You should be able to have, like, I went through all that crap. What's the point of living if you can't do nothing? You're not living. You're not living. I think Kenneth mentioned this in his last video or something like, this is not the place of life. This is the place of death. That's why everything dies in here. You're in the underworld. You're not in heaven, you're in hell. That's why everybody's an asshole. That's why the world's full of war. That's why all the stuff that you hate about the world is because all those people are possessed to one degree or another. They're either fully in control and running things, or they're just in enough control to make you suffer and fear and torment yourself with your own thoughts. Can't control your thoughts, can you? Okay, let's do this together. It's freaking easy for me. I'm just going to sit here for a minute, and in the time that I'm sitting here, I want you to just be quiet and not have any sounds whatsoever in your head. Ready? Go. Only thing I could hear was the fan over there and the cars out on the road. What was it like for you? Did you have the monkey in there with the cymbals? Freaking music and commercials and TV and movies and your boss yelling at you and what is that? What is it? Why can't you do something that simple? I can't shut my mind off. That ain't you. That's the simplest way we can put it. You're possessed. But so is everyone else. Unless you go through her boot camp. She's what gets you unpossessed. She's the only thing that can get you unpossessed. You can't go to a ghost hunter. You can't go to a priest. There's no magic ritual that just magically make you unpossessed from this thing. It is ingrained into you. You think you're it. That's the problem. You think you're it. And you identify by you saying things like, my thoughts, my mind, my addictions, my. That's not yours. It's its. This whole system starts like before you leave the hospital. That's why they slap a number on you and give you a legal entity name. Why do you think law has all these crazy words in it? Your name in all caps on your birth certificate, that's the name of the demon that possesses you. I remember a couple years back, I'm like, why are we doing this? Like, she literally had me do an exorcism on my freaking birth certificate and burn it. That's why you struggle. That's why you suffer. That's why you try to do this stuff and then you get frustrated because it's too hard and you give up. That's why. If you simply accept that and know it from the get-go, then what's happening from that point on when you meet that kind of resistance is you're not identifying with it. You're not saying, I can't do it. Like, I just this, I just that. You're identifying with the demon possessing you. You have to realize that that's not you. Then you can start exerting, the first thing is simply that, to realize that it's not you. That's the first thing. Then you can start resisting it. Now, depending on the person and what your background is and what kind of things you've learned and what kind of things you believe, it might do all sorts of things to try to scare you, but it's just a show. It's just a show. If it starts creating all these angry thoughts and stuff like that, here's what I want you to do. I want you to picture this perfect light in your head. It looks like the sun. Just know that's source, nor that it's spirit. It's whatever. And draw energy from that. And just pretend you're Green Lantern. Green Lantern's got that ring. He uses like imagination and will to create green constructs to smash the enemy. Yeah, that has to deal with anything that you do. It tries to teach you have no power. It tries to keep you in fear of authority. It tries to keep you in line of like how you behave so that you fit in with other people. Its whole job is to keep you in the box. And it looks like you, it sounds like you, but it's not you. That's why the first thing we talked about in this video, or one of the first things, is like, you are not your name. You are not your body. You are not your labels. You are not your affiliations, such as, I am a Christian. I belong to the something something Baptist church. I am a registered Republican or Democrat. I am blah blah blah. Like, all those are labels. All those labels are like little subdemons. That's why we say don't put labels on yourself. All these struggles. It's the thing that says you need to listen to a doctor. Doctors are authority. They'll tell you all about your problem. But you're going to go to another doctor and their little demons are going to talk. It's like, yeah, you're never going to be cured of this. Then you accept that, the authority. All this stuff works on tricking you to agree to the bullshit, to the illusions, because that's the only power it actually has. You have the God power in this place. So in order to enslave you, the system has to trick you into using your power against yourself, using your words against yourself, using your beliefs against yourself. It's all a big freaking trick. And it can be hard to break yourself out of it sometimes because it can trigger past pain, past traumas, like, feel bad about this, feel bad about this. You feel too bad to think about this other stuff. Oh, why are you trying to connect to Sophia? Oh, she's you don't like her. She's gonna kill the world. No, you don't have time for that. Let's watch Netflix. Let's Netflix and chill. Let's just get a nice big pint of ice cream, turn on some Netflix, and then we don't have to think about anything. We don't have to think, we can just relax and just chill. You're freaking possessed. If you don't believe me, now I'm not saying do or not do things that, said authority may frown on. And why why does authority care so much about like psychedelic type plant medicine? This is all stuff like the shamans used. Because you'll see stuff, you'll figure stuff out. Like with psilocybin, that's like her jam. If you did on your own completely, not saying, you don't want to start out with anything more than microdosing. Microdosing. That kind of tunes that Sophia antenna. You don't trip on microdosing. But theoretically speaking, if you did take like 4 grams of psilocybin and I strapped you to a chair and parked your ass in front of a big mirror, by the time that kicks in, you're going to know that I'm telling the truth because you're going to see it. I remember first time I did mushroom tea with somebody more experienced. I remember her telling me like, hey, if you go to the bathroom, I'm just saying, if you happen to go to the bathroom, just try not to look in the mirror. Sometimes when people are doing this, things look kind of weird and it freaks them out. She knew exactly what she was saying. Because the next time I did it by myself, that's when I saw it. And I was looking in the mirror, I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, that's not just visual distortion, is it? Like, I've seen you before when I was a kid. Sitting there looking at, and it's just like this face over top of your face. Looks like freaking Darth Maul made of meat. That's why I can describe it. And lots of people, some people can see it naturally. They got the ability. Just about anybody that's ever done mushrooms has seen it. It's like there's another face over people's faces. Other types of substances, I got a family member that they were in the hospital and they gave him some sort of, I keep wanting to say Darvocet. I don't think it was Darvocet. It was something else. But it had a kind of weird psychedelic effect on him. It was a painkiller, but it was a weird one. And other family members came in to visit, like this from this Christian family. And they have freaking monster mask faces over them too. She described it exactly the same way that I know it to be. I'm like, I know. That's what I keep trying to tell people. That's what makes them get angry. This guy, I don't like what this guy's saying. Or like when I start spitting truth and teaching people about what the church hid, it'll activate one of those people and they'll start, you're teaching false teachings, you're a false prophet, you're blasphemy. How? I'm not part of your religion. This existed before your religion was ever created. That authoritative religion that likes torture. So yeah, I mean, it's just the freaking truth. It's the truth. That's why you struggle. And the more it's plugged into you and the more you feed it, if you want to break it, first thing you got to do if you want to break it down was the last thing she had me do before she broke out. The black mirror is what charges it. The TV, the internet, your smartphone, news feeds, the story of the world. Why do they constantly show you? Well, I mean, why has it always been that way? Why is news all about the horrible things that happen in the world every day? Because it's feeding your demon that's keeping you in line. So the last thing she whispered to me, and that's something I would find out later, was in the Nag Hammadi in the Bible. Jesus said you had to fast from the world. that cuts its power. So I'd already healed some past traumas. I'd already went celibate. And then she whispered to me to fast from the world. So for about 2.5 weeks, I didn't watch any news. I didn't go into the Facebook feeds. I didn't go into YouTube. If I had to go online, I went straight to where I was going. The goal is to not know anything about the world. And then the rest of the time, I listened to upbeat music, like music from the 80s that had that feeling to it. It makes you, yeah, kind of chargy life feeling. Like Huey Lewis in the News, Power of Love, like that kind of stuff. Go on walks, be outside in nature. And what that's doing is it's pulling the power out of that demon adversary. I mean, we call it the adversary because what it really is, it's kind of like a tentacle from the big thing in your head. Everyone has it. It's pulling the power out of that and it's feeding the power into her, into the God side. Once the scales tip enough, the genie gets out of the bottle and you ain't putting her back in. Now it's going to bounce back out. You're going to go head to head a lot, but eventually it's toast. When she's out of the bottle, it's toast. But you just have to know and accept that it's there, because that's what the root of all your issues are. All your struggles, all your fears, all your pains, all the things you can't let go of in the past, all the things you can't stop yourself from doing. It's because you're freaking possessed. There, I said it. If everybody just like said what it was instead of like, let me put glue some fluffy things all over it and make it up. Oh, this is your ego. And it's got a pain body. It's like, it's not scary. It's just an ego. It's a freaking demon. You're in hell. Okay? Do you want to get out of it? Do you want to connect to your angel? Do you want to go to the place that's not death? Okay, let's quit pussyfooting around it and call it what it is, because that's what it is. If you don't believe me, go eat 4 grams of psilocybin and sit in the mirror. Sit in front of the mirror. Tell me what happens. You know what? You don't have to tell me what's going to happen, because I already know. This all is meant to serve as a reminder of the basics of what we got to do. Okay? You don't have to go memorize and learn a bunch of religious stuff. You have to know what the basics are and just try to do it for the right reasons to free yourself. And then, as you're making progress, it's going to come to you then. And then it will guide you to what you need to see. You pray to the highest point of consciousness, the point where there's nothing higher than that. And you ask for truth, guidance, wisdom, and love, and how to finish what you're here to do. And mean it. Let go of who you think you are. We did a couple videos back about surrendering the self. That might kick up the thing. If it does, message me. There's anyone that's trying to sell you that there's some magical freaking fairy dust gold brick road that goes around all this stuff so you don't have to do it is lying to you. They're lying to you. This place is hard. It's meant to be hard, but most of it is illusion. It's the more you believe in the bad things, you're adding your power to that. But it all starts with understanding that all those things that you're struggling with, all those negative thoughts, some people are too far gone. The good thing is, if you got to this point, like you might be freaking out right now. If you got to this point in the video where I've already said all these things, then you're not as far off, you're not as bad off as you think. You're not as bad off as you think. You have a lot more of her with you than you think you do. Because I tell you from experience, and it was part of my experiment last couple of videos, it will keep people away from things that expose it. if it has enough power. Reason I re-uploaded that video the other day is because I intentionally put a Benedict exorcism at the beginning of the video with no indication whatsoever that it was there. And yet what happened still was I had a whole big series of videos. It's like 800 views, 800 views, 900 views, 900 views, 1,000 views. And then I did that one exorcism video. It says, 5-minute devil beatdown. Then I did another video. That's where I hid it in there. And it was like 2.5 days and it didn't even have 300 because they know it's in there. And when you watch those videos that we do with the Benedict exorcism, they're not just some random video that someone put together. Like, we put that together. That actually has power. So that's why I specifically didn't put it in this video. Because now I kind of want to see how much happens now. But yeah, if you got this far in the video, you are leaning far more toward the light. You still got that thing, but you're a lot better off than you think you are. And understand that. And if you ever get into any kind of freaking like serious like emergency type thing, like just send him some message if you don't have anyone else to talk to or whatever. Like, that's what we're here for. Like, she will spur people to contact me at the right time, and she will let me know that she did that. So we don't, I mean, we sell things and we have stuff like Buy Me a Coffee. So things can be exchanged, but we're not hiding behind a paywall of anything. Like, I'm here to execute the Father's will, the Mother's guidance, and wisdom's teaching. Okay. So I thought that would be a short video, but whenever she gets involved, then it's just like expands out into a bigger thing. So we're going to wrap this up for right now. Click on the links in the description box below. So our Buy Me a Coffee support stuff is. Do the giveaways, do that too. The Etsy store, contacting us through the Etsy store is the best. And anything else, if I have time tonight, I've got a really interesting video I still want to do. This is like mystery stuff that was revealed to me recently. That's like actually really freaking interesting and cool. Something different from what you usually hear. So, but I gotta edit this one first. So that's all we got for right now. Chris and Lumin. See you next time.